This is the brainstem in anatomical position. In anatomical position, it is inclined slightly forward because it rests on the clivus of the, which is sloping or inclining. Clivus formed by the bassis sphenoid and bassi occiput. Below will be the foramen magnum in the clivus. Posteriorly, the cerebellum is attached to the brainstem by three pairs of cerebellar peduncles, superior, middle, inferior, attaching it to the midbrain, pons and medulla. So here the three pairs of cerebellar peduncles have been cut and the cerebellum has been removed along with the roof of the fourth ventricle, which is formed by the superior and inferior medullary velum. Brainstem consists of the midbrain, pons and medulla oblongata. Here the midbrain has been sectioned at the middle of the midbrain, not at the upper limit. So the section has passed through the superior colliculi and only the inferior colliculi are seen here. Here we can see a transverse section of the midbrain. The midbrain consists of two halves. Each half is known as a cerebral peduncle, which attaches the brainstem to the cerebral hemisphere of that side. Each cerebral peduncle is divided into three regions by two landmarks. This dark line is the substantia nigra, which contains dopaminergic neurons which project to the striatum, forming path of the nigrostriatal pathway. This is the aqueduct of Sylvius. The part of the crus, or the part of the cerebral peduncle anterior to the substantia nigra, is known as the base of the cerebral peduncle or basis pedunculi or crus cerebri. The part between the substantia nigra and a horizontal line passing through the aqueduct of Sylvius is known as the tegmentum of the midbrain, which contains the gray matter and the cranial nerve nuclei of the midbrain. The part which lies posterior to the aqueduct of Sylvius is known as the tectum of the midbrain. The tectum contains the two superior and two inferior colliculi. Together they are collectively known as the corpora quadrigemina. So the three regions are the basis pedunculi, tectum and tegmentum, separated by the substantia nigra and the line passing through the aqueduct of Sylvius. Anteriorly are the two crura or cerebral peduncles. Between the peduncles, this is the interpeduncular fossa where the third cranial nerve, oculomotor nerve, emerges. On the dorsal aspect, posteriorly below the level of the inferior colliculi, the trochlear nerve will emerge. In this specimen, none of the cranial nerves are intact. Below the midbrain is the pons. This bulging is because of the pontine fibers as well as the corticospinal tracts and pontine nuclei. In the midline is a sulcus, the basilar sulcus, where the basilar artery lies. The transverse pontine fibers can be seen. These fibers are axons of neurons in the pontine nuclei, which decussate or cross to the opposite side and enter the opposite middle cerebellar peduncle. This is the middle cerebellar peduncle, which attaches the pons to the cerebellar hemisphere of that side. It is the largest cerebellar peduncle. Anterior surface of the medulla has three landmarks. There is a midline sulcus and there are three landmarks from anterior to posterior. These are the pyramid, olive and inferior cerebellar peduncle. The olive is separated from the pyramid and inferior cerebellar peduncle by sulci or grooves, and anteromedial and an anterolateral sulcus, also known as the pre-olivary and post-olivary sulcus. Posteriorly, the lower part of the medulla is known as the closed part. Here we have the gracile tubercles and cuneate tubercles, gracile medially, cuneate laterally. The dorsal surface of the midbrain has the two superior, two inferior colliculi, and the posterior of the pons and upper medulla contains the fourth ventricle. This is the floor of the fourth ventricle, which is diamond shaped, so it is also known as the rhomboid fossa. The roof of the fourth ventricle has been removed along with the cerebellum, and it consists of the superior inferior medullary vela. In the floor of the fourth ventricle, there is a median sulcus, midline groove, and there are some transverse fibers here which separate the rhomboid fossa into a pontine part above and a medullary part below. The medullary part is smaller, the pontine part is larger. In the medullary part, there are two small projections. The medial one is known as the hypoglossal trigone, and the lateral one is the vagal trigone. The hypoglossal trigone is produced by the underlying hypoglossal nuclei, general somatic efferent, and the vagal trigones are produced by the underlying dorsal motor nuclei of the vagus. In the pontine part of the floor of the fourth ventricle, beside the median sulcus, there is an elevation. This is known as the medial eminence. At the lower end of the medial eminence is the facial colliculus produced by the abducent nucleus. So the nuclei of the three cranial nerves supplying the extraocular muscles all produce a colliculus, or all have a colliculus as a landmark. The oculomotor nucleus is located at the level of the superior colliculus, the trochlear nucleus at the level of the inferior colliculus, and the abducent nucleus at the level of the facial colliculus in the floor of the fourth ventricle. Lateral to the medial eminence is the sulcus limitans, and lateral to the sulcus limitans are the sensory nuclei. Most lateral, in the lateral angle of the rhomboid fossa, are the vestibulocochlear nuclei. Vestibular area, cochlear area is most lateral, because as we have seen, the special somatic afferent cell column is most lateral. So the vestibular area, cochlear area is lateral, near the base of the peduncles. Regarding the cranial nerves which emerge from the brainstem, the third and fourth will emerge from the midbrain. The third all emerge anteriorly or ventrally except for the fourth. The third emerges in the interpeduncular fossa at the level of the superior colliculus. The fourth cranial nerves will emerge below the level of the inferior colliculi. The fifth cranial nerves emerge from the middle of the pons at the junction of the pons and the middle cerebellar peduncle. The sixth, seventh and eighth emerge at the pontomedullary junction between the sixth emerges between the pyramid and the pons, the seventh between the olive and the pons, and the eighth between the inferior peduncle and the pons. The seventh and the eighth each have two components. The seventh has a motor root which is large, and lateral to the motor root is the nervus intermedius, which lies between the motor root and the vestibulocochlear nerve. So the eighth cranial nerve also has two parts, the vestibular part and the cranial part, cochlear part. Behind the olive, in the post-olivary sulcus, the 9th, 10th and cranial part of 11th cranial nerves emerge from above downwards. The rootlets of the glossopharyngeal, vagus and cranial part of the accessory will be attached. In front of the olive, in the pre-olivary sulcus, the two roots of the hypoglossal nerve emerge and unite to form the hypoglossal nerve. The spinal part of the accessory nerve, the spinal root, it comes from the upper part of the cervical spinal cord through the foramen magnum and joins the cranial root. So this is regarding the brainstem. Now we come to the cerebellum. So this specimen has the brainstem attached to the anterior aspect of the cerebellum. So because the brainstem is attached, we can see this is the medulla pons and crura of the cerebrum. So this is superior, this is inferior. Brainstem will be inclined. So this is the anatomical position. The cerebellum may not have brainstem attached, অন্য specimen আছে which does not have the brainstem. So in that case, you can see the superior surface is almost flat or slightly concave, and the inferior surface is convex. The superior surface is separated from the inferior surface by the horizontal fissure, which is this one. The vermis is also divided into a superior vermis and an inferior vermis. Superiorly, the vermis is continuous with the surface of the cerebral hemispheres. Inferiorly, the vermis is separated from the surface of the hemispheres by a groove which is known as the vallicula. On the superior surface, this is the primary fissure, which separates the anterior lobe from the posterior lobe. So anterior to the primary fissure is the anterior lobe, and this is the superior surface of the posterior lobe, and this is the inferior surface of the posterior lobe. On the superior surface, we can see the superior cerebellar arteries traveling and supplying the surface. So stroke of these vessels, cerebellar arteries, will produce cerebellar syndromes and ataxia, etc. On the inferior surface, this is the inferior vermis. These swellings are known as the cerebellar tonsils. As you can see, the tonsils are located just above the foramen magnum, just behind the lower part of the medulla. So increased intracranial pressure can cause tonsillar herniation through the foramen magnum, which will compress the medulla and can cause death.
So, what are tonsils?
So the cerebellum, each cerebellar hemisphere is divided into three lobes. Anterior, posterior are separated by this primary fissure, and the posterior is separated from the flocculonodular lobe by the dorsolateral fissure. This is the flocculus of the flocculonodular lobe. Just in front of the flocculus, this is the vestibulocochlear nerve in the cerebellopontine angle. Also on this side, vestibulocochlear nerve, flocculus of the flocculonodular lobe. This is the basilar artery, which is formed by union of the two vertebral arteries at the lower border of the pons. At the upper border of the pons, it is dividing into two posterior cerebral arteries. Just below the posterior cerebral arteries, the superior cerebellar arteries originate, and they curve around the cerebral peduncles and supply the superior surface of the cerebellum. At the lower end of the basilar artery, these are the anterior inferior cerebellar arteries, which will supply the inferior surface of the cerebellum. Anterior inferior cerebellar artery, this is the posterior inferior cerebellar artery. Flocculus of the flocculonodular lobe, vestibulocochlear nerve. This is the middle cerebellar peduncle going from the pons to the cerebellum, attaching the pons to the cerebellum. These are the things which you need to identify in this specimen.